News Talk 640. Yeah, I know he's already singing. That's yeah. See, I knew that was going to happen. Jeff Thompson, Bell Seed Store. How are you, my man?
Good morning, gentlemen. I just discovered we've done this wrong all this time.
Why do you say that?
So
You want to stay
I'm
home?
sitting here in my comfy chair. I've got my dog in my lap, my cup of coffee. My wife is in here. This is the atmosphere. This is what we should have been doing this all along.
Well, if it's hey, it seems like we got a plan. We got a plan. We're going to make it happen. That's how I feel about it. How you doing
One
this
way or
morning?
another.
You doing
I'm
okay?
good. I'm doing good. Just looking at some beautiful snow outside and just admiring how gorgeous that is. Is it not a beautiful thing?
It is a beautiful thing, and I've got you. I've got this worked out now. We're doing a podcast as well, so I have it so that I can bring your picture up on the screen, and I'm here talking to you, so you can see both of those things. And we can even bring Kenny Hitman McLean in when we have to, so everybody can be seen here while we're talking. Hey, look, and I asked you to send me a picture, and you sent me a dynamic picture, the one that's on the screen right now with the mountains behind you. What's that all about?
That's in Switzerland. See, how do you even says it? Switzerland.
Wow.
It was we were in Switzerland last year for a couple of days. It was beautiful, absolutely gorgeous. Now you're talking about snow. There was some serious snow up there on the top of those mountains.
Yeah, I see it up there, and I tell you what, we got the snow right now. For those of you who don't know, Jeff Thompson is with Bell Seed Store here in Fayetteville, and how long have you been over there with them?
25 years.
25. And we have you come on the first of the month every month because even though we have snow, there are things that people need to be doing to their lawns and gardens in anticipation of the spring coming up here. And February is no exception in terms of some things that you might think about wanting to do. So, what advice are you offering folks?
But today, with the snow on the ground, I'm going to give you probably the rest of the week off. There's not a whole lot you can do with all the snow all over the place. It'll eventually melt. Now, the interesting thing, Gilbert, is that because this is not the kind of the kind of weather we normally get, there's going to be problems showing up getting on into spring, and it's all going to be a result of the last 2 weeks because we don't typically get these ice events and snow events. So I think we're going to see some damage when we get on into March and April.
All right, well, if you play golf, they don't let you get on the greens, for example, because of the freeze warning. And when the temperatures get cold there, you can damage the greens if the balls hit the grass while there's that going on. Similar type thing, I guess, for your lawn, once the temperature gets cold like this?
Yeah, because like in my yard stays so wet, and so especially in the front yard, and so the longer it stays wet with those colder temperatures, and especially freezing temperatures, you have more of a chance of harming your root system. And so, Mother Nature is going to take care of a lot of that. Root system is generally sturdy, but there's just hardly any way to prevent all your damage from happening in events like this. So you're going to have that the snow is actually a good thing. The snow actually insulates some, and so your temperature doesn't get down as cold. But the ice, like we got last weekend, if you have a yard like mine where the water sits around for a little while and is just under the surface, you can really damage some grass that way. And there's really nothing you can do about it other than fixing any kind of water retention problems. Getting the drain off your property, will help. But we're just going to have some problems. And then your plants, I've got some 10, 11-foot wax myrtles between my house and my next door neighbor's house. And last weekend in the ice, there was just enough ice that got on and snapped several large branches that are still laying off to the side that I got to get cut off there and get out of there. So you get all that ice on your branches, you can definitely start snapping branches, and that's where a lot of the power line problems come in, because if you have tall trees, branches freeze, they snap, they take down power lines. Of course, mine were not near big enough to do that, but it's still something I've got to deal with now. So
Well,
there are unintended consequences of the cold weather, without a doubt.
now, and is it a good consequence that it's cold now? And what happens to the insects because it's so cold right now?
Well, that's a real good thing, because they're all going to go deep, and a lot of the eggs that have been laid, if they're anywhere close to the surface, it's gotten cold enough to fill out a lot of those eggs. So your mosquitoes, the mosquitoes don't bed very deep, and they lay eggs right in the surface mulch and in the surface dirt. And so it's gotten cold enough now to where it will kill a lot of those off. So that's the thing we don't normally get around here. So you get in the middle of March and the mosquitoes are very active because you've got a new crop that's just hatched out and they're hungry and they're going for it. But now, hopefully, we've killed out a lot of that stuff. A lot of the ticks, your tick population ought to be much lower this year because we've had cold enough weather to actually kill out a lot of the eggs and a lot of the young, immature insects.
Okay, and so granted we've got cold weather here, but normally if we didn't, there's talk of aeration and thatching and things like that, and sometimes people are confused on when you're supposed to do those two things. I know I'm confused because sometimes I do both of them during the spring or just before the spring.
Stay confused, Gilbert.
Yeah, the story of my life. So straighten me out here, Jeff Thompson, OP. The blooming idiot will tell me when am I supposed to thatch and when am I supposed to aerate, and explain what both of those things are.
Well, aeration is one of the most misunderstood things, one of the most mispublicized things that there is out there in the horticultural world, I think. Somehow this information got out there that you ought to aerate and seed. And those two processes don't go hand in hand. When you're aerating, what you're doing is you're a core aerator will take plugs out of the ground, and their plugs about as big around as a dime, but they're about 2-3 inches long, and so it will pull these plugs out of the ground, throw them on top of the ground, and what you're doing there is you're loosening up your soil because you get rid of all those plugs when they're sitting on the surface. You rake them up, you throw them out, put them in your compost pile, whatever you want to do. But you've now loosened up your soil, and then you're also allowing water and oxygen to penetrate into the root system a little bit easier than what it did before with all that compacted soil. Now, if you aerate and you've got these beautiful 2-inch holes and then you throw seed down, your seed is going to drop at the bottom of that hole, and that's too deep, and it's never going to germinate well that deep. So if you aerate and then seed, you just made a mistake. You just wasted a lot of money on your seed. If you want to do it that way, please come down and buy your seed from me. I'll take all the money I got.
Okay.
But in order to get your best results, you can aerate, but then you got to wait at least 2 to 3 weeks before you throw seed out. But the other benefit behind aeration is you're trying to encourage more root development. So whenever you cut those roots by taking those cores out, everywhere you cut a root, you ought to produce a couple more. But that's not going to happen unless your root system is active and vigorous. And that's going to happen in the middle of the summer. When you're right in the middle of the growing season in June, July, August, that's when you ought to be aerating, because as soon as you cut those roots, you're going to start producing more roots. If you cut those roots now, and even if we get enough warm weather to start a little bit of growth, and then you get cold weather behind that, you just damage that new root that's trying to form. And so you want to do it when your grass is actively growing and being productive and forming roots. So do not aerate this time of year. Do not aerate through the spring. Wait until you get on into the summer. Yeah, it's hot, but what else you got to do to go out there and sweat in the yard?
All right. Well, look, then the other part of that is the thatching, and explain what that is and when that should be done.
The thatching patch is just that layer of organic matter that resides right at soil level. So all your grass clippings, your leaves, all that stuff that's in your yard that as you cut, it shreds it up and then puts it down there at soil level. That can build up over time. And a little bit is good because it's going to decompose and it's going to get in there and provide good nutrients for your soil, good organic matter. But too much is a bad thing because then it ties up moisture and it keeps your moisture from getting down in your root zone. It does not allow your grass crowns to adequately develop. So yeah, from time to time, and that is a springtime project. Once you get into late winter, early spring, so toward the end of this month, early March, then you can go through just a good stiff leaf rake will do it. They make thatching rakes that are very stiff, but you can use a good stiff leaf rake and you just rake all that junk out of there so you can get back down to true soil. Then all your fertilizers are going to penetrate better, your organic matter will not get blocked up. So it's just that is a good maintenance thing to do. And you can do that throughout the year, but primarily late winter, early spring is when you want to do that to give the most benefit.
Okay, and so we got just about another minute here or so before we cut you loose until next month. And there are machines that you can just especially if you have like centipede or the grasses that grow right along the surface like a vine type grass. That's where you're going to probably have a lot of thatch that you kind of have to want to clear out. What do you say to people who burn their lawns for whatever reason to get things going?
Put the lighter away. Step away from the gas can. And your grandparents burned their yard off. There's still people who do it, but they've actually proven that it causes more damage than good because the temperature gets at such a level right there at the soil surface where the crown of your grass is that you're going to damage it. They're doing that to burn off weeds and kill off weeds. Well, yes, because it's burning and damaging the crown of where your weed is growing, and it damages and kills the root system that's close to the surface. Well, it's going to do the same thing to your grass. It's not only burning your weeds, it's burning your grass too. And, so it's really not a good idea to do. Plus, it's a hazard. I mean, the chance of burning down your house or your neighbor's house, I just don't think it's worth it. Horticulturally, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to do. Just step away from the flame.
All right, Jeff Thompson, No P, the Blooming Idiot from Bell Seed Store. It's always good to talk with you and see you. I'll probably be by the shop getting ready to do some stuff for my lawn coming up here as we start to thaw out. I'm looking forward to that as well.
Well, Gilbert, I'll tell you, next month, if you want to just show up at my house at 7:15, we'll call Kenny, let him in it. We'll each other in the easy chair with our coffee.
There you go.
And just have a good old time.
All right. Well, we appreciate you. Jeff, we'll talk with you next month. You're listening to News Talk 640 WFNC. We've got Fayetteville's.
Wonderful morning.
We will do that. Make sure you check out CBS 17 Local News.
Good morning from the CBS 17 newsroom. I'm Bill Young. A winter weather advisory still in effect this morning because of the cold and the snow on the roads refreezing, creating very slick patches of ice. The snow didn't melt
Charles Evans
side streets, and that makes
is the next phone call.
3.5 inches of snow recorded in Fayetteville, although Pinehurst.
Charles Evans is the next phone call.
Hit the ground.
Okay.
The good news is temperatures will climb today to near 40. Most school districts throughout central North Carolina will either operate remotely or close entirely. Cumberland, Polk, and Harnett are remote. Sampson, Moore, and Robinson are closed. And a heads up, FAST, Fayetteville Area System of Transit, closed today. 3 flights are canceled at Fayetteville Regional Airport so far as well. And as the extreme cold is officially here this morning, Duke Energy asking customers to reduce their usage until 10 this morning. Officials say that is when demand is expected to be at its peak as people wake up, turn on the heat, and businesses reopen after the weekend. A man is under arrest after a shooting inside a Fayetteville Walmart. Happened Saturday afternoon at the store on Skybow Road. Police say a woman was grazed by the fired a gun. The pair then left the store together. Police tracked them down, and they determined the woman was not seriously hurt. The man was arrested and charged with carrying a concealed weapon and discharging a firearm within the city limits.